Do you like movies and games also? This and so much more, they all know. Vice, Pyro, Lotus, and friends, welcome to Corrective Consciousness.
Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 29. I am your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And I'm PyroJackFrost.
Well, we have another really good show here for you, so let's get it off the top. Go ahead, Pyro.
Oh, wow. That's going
to be my surprise.
All right, so I'm just going to talk more about what I talked about last week. I've been continuing Final Fantasy 15. It's really funny because one of my other friends mentioned that it's like a 6-hour game with 50 hours of side quests. So I'm about 50 hours in by time, but the really annoying thing about this game, when you pause the game, the ticker still goes. So it's really hard for me to calculate how many hours I've been actually playing the game. But I would say it's about maybe 40 hours of those 50 hours that I've actually been playing. And I've finally been continuing the story, but it's just really weird because I've been doing so many side quests. And then yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do some story quests. And I finished 2 chapters in like an hour. So like the chapters are really, really short, it feels. But the side quests give it some buffer, and the size of the world give it some buffer to make it seem longer. Well, I don't know if I actually like that.
Well, you probably also level up appropriately, because I would get the feeling if you just did story, then you'd be under levels.
No, I feel like I'm very over leveled now.
Okay, well, so much for that.
So the story quest that I just finished today was a level 21 story quest. The boss of it was level 30. I was level 40.
Okay. Well then.
And it was a pushover. I was like, did this boss supposed to be this easy? I don't even know. But yeah, I don't know if I like the fact that the story is actually very short by itself, but it's just lots of side quests. Although honestly, in terms of the amount of time I have to play games nowadays, maybe it's better for me that the game's not actually long. But it feels like there's just a lot of buffer, I guess, again. But I do enjoy it. I just got my first summons today, and I cast my first summon today, and it was pretty freaking awesome. It's like world-destroying awesome.
Yeah, the only summon in the game I've seen was, I think from the demo, like Ramu, and that was nuts.
I saw Rama. Yeah. I just saw Rama, and it's just like it's such a big thing. Like
what I like is that it's almost seamless. Like it is a scene you have to sit back and watch, but you don't know when the scene starts. Like all of a sudden, this giant hand comes in the sky and grabs you and picks you up, and you're like, "Wait, what?" And then
that's awesome.
And then the summon happens, and you're like, "Oh," because it turns out he's
really
just
cool.
he throws down this massive bolt of lightning, and he's just holding you in his left hand while that happens. You just watch everything below you get just nuked. It's insane.
Yeah, actually, it's really funny. I'm trying to remember the quote, but so one of the characters in your party, Prompto, he's like the Joker of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I'm going to paraphrase since I don't remember the exact quote, but after you cast that summon, it's kind of like you have to cast it, so you get used to it. Kind of shows you how to use it.
Yeah.
But he basically says along the lines of like after the summon's over, like, "Holy shit, that was badass."
Yeah, it does
like,
feel a little masturbatory. I mean, sometimes it feels a little masturbatory when games do that, but like I think that summon kind of earns it.
Yeah.
Because like Sonic Boom was really bad with that. Like, whoa, cool, and they just kept doing it, and it's like, all right.
Also, like, I think that's a big step forward for Square Enix to do something like that, because they're such an antiseptic company in a lot of ways about their stuff. You know, like they really don't have characters that are like marveling in what they're doing as something like extraordinary. Like they always kind of just take it at like, you know, as granted, you know.
That is true.
Yeah.
Even when it is over the top. Like I remember in Final Fantasy, I mean, in fairness, this was the Super Nintendo like sprite game, so other than text boxes, what are you really gonna do? But I remember when you fight Bahamut, it turns out like a nearby island was not an island at all, and it just lives in the sky and it's Bahamut, and the player is just like, oh my god, but the characters have like just no reaction.
That's no small moon.
Yeah, but
even,
the characters just have no reactions. Like, guess we're fighting Bahamut now. It's like nothing. Like that's insane.
And I would say like even in Final Fantasy like 7, the summons were pretty, like that's their first time they got those, and the 3D. Like let's put it this way. I know it was a secret summon, but Knights of the Round was a pretty insane animation.
It was like a minute and a half long or something. It was insane.
And it's not like it was just like, look cool, look at the summon. That was that.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, same goes with Sephiroth Supernova. Like, I guess it's hitting us now. Like, all right. Blew up like Jupiter. It's fine.
But yeah, it's really cool. Also, it's really funny because, like I said, I'm still on chapter, let's say 5 now, and I have the Ultima weapon, or Ultima Blade.
Nice.
I don't know if there's actually a stronger weapon, or if I just basically destroyed the balance of the game because I did all these side quests so quickly. But yeah, it's really cool, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's really interesting. Like, I know I mentioned last week how the DLC that I did, your friends weren't there, and I really missed having my friends there.
Yeah.
Well, in this story segment, my car got stolen.
Oh no!
It's not like it was stolen right from under your nose. It's a whole other part of it. But I felt like, oh my god, where's my car? I need to get my car back.
Well,
like,
yeah, that's one of those things. Well, yeah,
it's a character.
I was just gonna say, it's just like, you know, aggro in Shadow of the Colossus. Like, if you're ever without him for an extended period of time, you kind of feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get chocobos, but just the fact that I missed my car, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do any side quests. I don't have my car.
That car is badass, though. Like, it's a really cool car.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's funny because I was buying all these parts for the car, like that were supposed to make it better. I didn't realize I had to go to the starting town to talk to the mechanic Cindy to get her to actually install the parts.
Oh wow. So you were buying these things and they weren't even being installed?
Yeah. So I bought one that said, like, oh, your fuel efficiency is better. And I bought it. I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like it's that much better. And then I went back to Cindy because I wanted to see if I could get new colors for the car. And I'm like, what's this install option? And I look at it. I'm like, oh, these are all the parts I've been buying. And then I installed that fuel thing. And I'm like, oh, like it actually does change it a lot.
Nice.
So it's really cool.
Well, they kind of did that in the Mad Max game as well. Like, your car is almost more of a character than you are.
Yeah. So that's really fun, and I'm really enjoying it. When I first heard of the game, I'm like, you know what? I'm getting kind of tired of Final Fantasy. I don't know if I'm going to play it, but I got a PS4. I had a friend who had it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll borrow it, and I'm actually really enjoying it, so that's good.
Yeah, and I really like it too. I haven't made any more progress, but I feel like maybe there might be some progress going on over at that company. You know, maybe we might see some more continued good things in the future. I just wish that they would be quicker with things. I mean, what's cool now is that we're getting all the Dragon Quests, so I'm really happy about that. And like, people are actually playing it. Like, people bought Dragon Quest Builders. Like, a lot of people bought that game.
Yeah, I bought it. I haven't got a chance to play it because someone else is using my PS Vita currently. But the other funny thing about Final Fantasy 15 is I actually didn't know if I wanted to play Kingdom Hearts 3 or 2.8. But the more that I'm playing this, the more I want to actually play more Kingdom Hearts games. I'm
actually in. I really want to get the re-release, the PS4 re-release of the HD collections.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing that as well.
And then I'll get probably 2.8 at the same time. So I think those games are up their own asses, but I still think they're cool. In some ways,
don't play them to understand what's going on.
No,
because the battle system
make no
sense.
Fun.
Yeah, and it's just cool to see the Disney characters and the Final Fantasy
reference
characters interact.
The game.
It's hilarious because so you play Kingdom Hearts 1, and you know that you're unlocking the keys, your Keyblade wielder, etc. Then in 2 they add more to it because they have They have the nobodies, which is another enemy type, and you're like, okay, whatever. When someone becomes a Heartless, they also have a nobody, whatever. Then they have all these other games, and you're like, okay, whatever. All this, I keep saying whatever. All these other things are happening that's just making it more and more complicated. I'll try to figure out what's going on, but I don't think I will. And then they have Birth by Sleep, which kind of gives you a prequel to what's going on. You know where a lot of the characters are coming from, where the main bad guy is coming from. But then they have the mobile game, which actually adds to the story. And there were apparently 5 Keyblade wielders at the very beginning of it all. And one of them was a traitor. And that's what took the whole thing to go. And they just keep adding stuff to it. They're not explaining what's going on. They're just adding more to it. So I'm hoping that...
It's like they didn't have a story in mind when they first started.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that... I know that I have a feeling 3 won't be the end. But I know everything's been building up to 3 in a way. So I'm hoping they, with that and 2.8, or the 0.2, whatever it's called, eventually explains a lot of this stuff. Sure, I don't mind if they keep some open-ended things going on here, but I really hope they explain a lot of the story, because it's really complicated, and I don't know how they would expect anyone who wanted to be new to the game to have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows what's going on to begin with. So,
but I think that's also one of Square's biggest problems. Like, when you think about it, Final Fantasy 15, I've heard, because I didn't play the game when it was happening, but the end of it is really, really confusing if you didn't watch Kingsglaive.
Yeah.
Because they just introduced new characters without explaining anything about them and all that. So they kind of assume that you watched Kingsglaive and Brotherhood, the anime, to go into the game, which is not something you should do. You shouldn't assume that your customer is going to have that time and want to do that. But I feel like they're doing the same thing with Kingdom Hearts. They're going to explain some things in 3, but they're going to just leave it up to the audience to be like, hey, go ahead, play the other games if you really want to know what's going on.
It's bad storytelling.
Yeah.
Even what's good about Saturday morning cartoons is that you can watch an episode and it reestablishes the characters like almost instantly. I can't believe they don't understand this concept. Is that like everything is self-contained. Like you need to be able to identify who's who just by playing the thing that you present. Like
you should be able to have a self-contained story.
Exactly.
And not need the outside the other games or episodes or whatever to really know what's going on.
Sure.
But yeah, other than that, I've been playing more multiplayer games with my friends, my girlfriend and her cousins and everything. We played more Overcooked, and I didn't really play that much more. But I find that I like the game, but it gets really, really stressful. I really like the competitive version of it. The single player is just really stressful, and I haven't been... They keep asking me to play, and I'm like, no, that's okay, I'll just watch.
Watching those kinds of games is just as fun as playing them.
It's just as stressful to me, too, because I'm like, I don't want to say anything because I know how stressed they are.
No,
and then we've been playing more Tricky Towers and Towerfall Ascension, and I can't stress how much I've been enjoying playing Towerfall Ascension. I think
Towerfall's great.
If I actually played that when it came out, I would have said that was the multiplayer game of that year, whatever year it came out.
Yeah, no, it's a great game, and I have it with the expansion, so like I kind of want to play that more.
Do you know what the expansion adds?
I think it adds more. I'm not, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe more arenas. I'm not really sure, to be quite honest. But I do have it, and I do have Samurai Gun. So maybe next time we get together, I'll bring my laptop as well, just so we could have some fun with that stuff.
Cool. Yeah. So that's my week. So Lotus, why don't you go now?
Okay. Well, I have a few things. A couple of them extensions, like you said, of what I had been playing last week. One thing I just want to give a really, really brief mention to is I talked a bunch about the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus in last week's Reactive Consciousness episode, where I talked about the new level, the Void, and the new boss, Delirium, and how I beat it with Azazel, but Azazel's basically the game's easy mode. I just want to mention a couple days ago, I managed to do a full run-through up to the Void with the Lost, and I actually beat Delirium with the Lost. So
nice.
That's stressful, because you're only allowed to get touched once, and then if you get touched again, then you die. Like, there's a power-up you can get where you get 9 lives, and normally I hate that power-up, because whatever your max health is, it just goes down to a single red heart. Like, you can get HP upgrades after that, but if you die, it's almost not worth continuing because your next life has just a single heart, and on later levels, enemies do a full heart's worth of damage rather than a half heart. So it's just like, to hell with this, right? But with the Lost, if you've unlocked the Holy Mantle for it, then that gives you 1 free hit. So if you get the 9 life thing, you basically just have 9 chances with the Lost. So it's like, sure. So Delirium actually did kill me, and then I respawned in the previous room, went back in, and then I killed him. So one of the hardest things in the game is now done. So I'm definitely very happy about that. As for other games I've been playing, I've been doing more Yakuza Dead Souls. I've gotten to the part 2. I guess there's 5 parts because it works kind of like Yakuza 4, where there's 4 parts where you play as each character for their respective part, and then there's the sort of final culmination. So right now I'm on part 2, where I'm playing as Goro Majima, just the berserk, like, insane character, and he's like the one guy in the game who seems to be genuinely happy that there's a zombie apocalypse because he just gets to run around and murder zombies. So I've been doing that. That's been a lot of fun. I got through most of his side stuff. I think I have like 3 or 4 side missions left, and then I can move on with his super underground section. The underground portions in the game, I think I mentioned this last time, but it's randomly generated dungeons that go up to X amount of floors. The first character, Akiyama, went down to 15, and then you're done. Majima, I'll have to double check this, but I think he's 20, and it expands with each character. So I'll be dealing with him. But Majima's missions are, of course, going to be more difficult because I have since, found new enemy types. So I had already talked about of the special mutants. I talked about Monkey Boy, which is like a skater dude who just kind of dashes around. He's annoying. I mentioned the Crybaby, who's basically like the witch from Left 4 Dead, except instead of outright murder you, she keeps summoning more zombies with her loud cries. Well, now there's a Fatty, which is kind of more like his Left 4 Dead counterpart, where his disgusting bile that he spews out when he dies makes zombies within that area go berserk. So they just become a lot more aggressive. There's also the Aggro, who looks like, a street punk wearing a hoodie, looking all badass, and he just won't attack you. He'll just, if you walk right up to him, he'll just ignore you. If you bump into him, or if you attack him, then he kind of goes all out. He's pretty good at dodging, and he's doing crazy jump kicks and backflips, so you basically have to shoot him right after he attacks. And I've also fought some proper boss monsters. One of them is this really creepy thing that looks almost exactly like a liquor from Resident Evil 2. It crawls all over the ceiling and the walls, and it has crazy stretchy arm attacks like regenerators from Resident Evil 4. It kind of reminds me of like a liquor and a regenerator in that regard. It's pretty freaky looking. So I killed him, and the second big boss type was a sort of giant rock monster that moves around like a gorilla, and if you shoot it enough, the rock pieces will kind of come off of him, revealing his regular body underneath. And if you take off enough rock parts, he just goes crazy and busts off the rest, and then becomes just faster in terms of telegraphing and then executing an attack. So I've been dealing with that stuff. It's been quite entertaining. Also, just tonight, I've been wanting to do this for years and years, I finally started The Witcher. I have not played very much of it. I only got through the prologue, and the prologue really doesn't take long.
The first one, right?
Yeah, the first one. I want to play them in order. Only the prologue, though, and the prologue is quite short, especially if you know what you're doing. But for me, most of the prologue was kind of getting used to the game mechanics, and the game knows that that's what you're going to be doing because it has an unconventional playstyle, especially for combat. So I've been kind of getting used to that. I'm going to need to learn how to be able to drink potions on the fly for quick healing and stuff like that, because if I just do brute force fighting, it's not going to end well for me.
It's definitely a PC Western RPG in that regard. Like quick buttons are definitely necessary in order to play the game well.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that. Like Witcher 2 had a 360 release, and Witcher 3 had an everything release, but Witcher 1 is very obviously designed solely for the PC.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. They were going to make a console version of that, a 360 version of that, and it was going to have like a very big graphical upgrade and like a console interface and everything.
Yeah.
And the company who was making it went out of business towards the end of its development.
Yeah. Speaking of graphics,
so it got scrapped.
That is unfortunate. Like speaking of graphics, the graphics for the time are gorgeous, but even at high settings, the game's freaking 10 years old now. I didn't even realize that until I launched it.
It's an old game.
The graphics are starting to show at their age. Like, again, for what it is doing, it looks good. But
at the time, I couldn't find a computer that like ran it well.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because there are still little things that are sort of indicative of like mid-2000s games where like characters will all stand there talking to you, and when it's time for them to move, they're kind of like, oh, and then they just start their walk cycle. It's like little kind of old style things like that, and you could see sort of like the pixelation if you look really closely on leaves of trees, or like people's hair might clip through their clothing a little bit. But again, the graphics really are gorgeous. It's just little hallmarks of the time in which it was made, which is kind of amusing. So I don't really have much experience with The Witcher, but so far I like what I've seen, and I like the universe
I hope
starting
you
to establish.
enjoy it, because I got like maybe a couple hours in, or let's say a few hours in, and I fell off it, and then I tried playing 2, and I did not like it from the start.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I'm hoping that you enjoy it, because I didn't.
I'll see where it goes. I mean, I'll give you updates if I advance. And the last thing I want to bring up for my stuff I did this week was I just want to give a shout out to the company Rice Digital. They're a really cool UK, I think England based company that is pretty good at releasing physical and special editions of video games, usually ones that you can only get from there. It's not like Galgun was like the goofy example. But yeah, this is stuff like, it's not like the special edition of like Killer is Dead or whatever, where you could get it on your store shelf, but you could also hit up Rice Digital. Like, they have Rice Digital exclusive stuff. So one of the things that Vice was around for when he was at my place was that I had ordered a limited edition of Steins Gate 0, and I must have misclicked something or what, but like I got the wrong version. And I was like, oh, damn it, now I gotta deal with this. So I contacted Rice Digital and asked if I could do a return on it. And I gave them the reasons and everything, because they have to give you permission so you can process a return. So I was able to do that, and the process kind of took a while. Like, it went about as quickly as it could, but because we're shipping to and from England, you gotta wait like a week and a half for the shipping to, complete. But there was really good correspondence throughout, because there was a bunch of back and forth about information they needed and stuff like that. And then I finally got the edition that I originally intended. Like, the fault of the order was entirely mine. So that all got resolved. And again, they were really good with their correspondence with me, and super I guess not forthcoming is the word. That's not really the word I want, but like I guess super like
accommodating.
Yeah, that's thank you. Super accommodating and like laid back and everything. So definitely appreciate the efficiency and customer service on that part. So that was super good experience. So that's pretty much what I have. So how about you, Vice?
Well, I'm going through some changes in my life, so that's good. I am now officially looking for an apartment.
Nice.
So I, for a long time, was thinking about buying a house, and more I thought about it. I think it's a little too soon for me to buy a house, because I would be owning it on my own. And I'm 30 years old, and I want to eventually have a family. So I think buying it when I'm ready to start one is probably the best bet. Mm-hmm. So I think living in an apartment for now on is good. I have enough money saved up for a house. It's just that I don't I don't have a use for one. So I think it's good that I stayed at home while I could. I have a good relationship with my parents. I like living here. However, I think it's just time to get an apartment. It's just one of those things.
Apartment living is nice.
So, luckily, I stumbled into a situation where one of my family friends is actually needed a roommate, and so this is kind of the thing I've been waiting for, is waiting for a good situation so that I can move in with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because owning an apartment by myself is not something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to share an apartment. And having a random roommate never really appealed to me because of how badly it can go.
Yeah.
So this is my future roommate, as of right now, is a friend that I've had ever since I was a little kid. So he's not like a friend that I've I kept in contact with like you guys, but he's a friend that I see about once a year, and his dad was best friends with my dad in high school, so we know each other really well. He's a good dude, and I'm looking forward to living with him because I know him really well, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be living in a town that has a center of town. It's it's within walking distance of the train station that would go into Philly.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be able to hop on the train to go into Philly either for future work opportunities or just to go in for fun. And I love Philadelphia. I love the city of Philadelphia. I'm a big fan of it. So when you guys come down to visit as well, it'll be easy for us to get to Philadelphia. As many times as you guys have been to my place, you hardly have ever, if at all, been to Philadelphia with me. So
with you, never. And I think I've only set foot in the city once.
Yeah, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, but it was either impractical or we never had a chance to, or you just like missed the events that I was having in Philly. Like, you had your brother's bachelor party during my birthday party that was in Philadelphia.
Yeah. That just didn't work out.
You missed it too, Pyro, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that was odd because you usually make my birthday parties too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just one of those things where it didn't work out. But I'm looking forward to it. I also have another friend that is living in the same apartment complex that we're thinking about living in.
Oh, cool.
So there's a number of advantages. Also, the apartment is newly renovated and it hasn't had a renter ever since the renovation. So it's kind of like we're getting a brand new apartment, and it's like a townhouse. It's 2 floors.
Nice.
And the bedrooms are upstairs in the living area, and the entertaining space is downstairs.
Nice.
So it's going to be really good for the Let's Plays that I want to do in the future, and for hosting and things like that. So I can't wait. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't lived in an apartment since my college days, so I think it would be really cool to experience that again. So having said that, as far as video game stuff goes, I actually received my joystick that I've been talking about in Reactive Consciousness and Corrective Consciousness the last few weeks. So the Comba Obsidian finally came out, and along with it, all of the super converters that I got. So I did I actually took the opportunity to do an unboxing video that I filmed with a friend, and I hope to be it to be one of the first uploads on the Corrective Consciousness YouTube page.
Hey.
Nice.
So I also did a quick playthrough of a couple games on each system that I had a converter for, just to make sure they worked. And everything is working with flying colors. It was really cool. I also got a chance to show off the backpack that the joystick came with for free. It came with a joystick pack, which was really neat. And it's like a $60 value, and it came free with the joystick, along with free shipping. So, I had no problems with it whatsoever, and I had fun filming. So I also did like a little description of a few of the joysticks that I already owned, just to show why this one is an upgrade. So I also hope to do some more videos chronicling how I want to modify the joystick and add art custom artwork to it. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I added the octagonal gate to it as well. It was really easy with this joystick because it's made to be modded. So I had a lot of fun doing that, and I hope to do more videos of it soon. Keep in mind it's my first video for this kind of thing, so just getting used to kind of making them. So I hope it's entertaining at least.
Sure.
And gives people some insight to the Obsidian joystick. There are a few reviews out there, but not so many that this would go unnoticed. So I'm excited to release it. And while I was doing it, I played Mushihimesama Futari on 360. I played Caladrius Blaze on PS4. On Xbox One, I played Garou Mark Wolves and got my butt kicked by this guy. So like you'll watch me get wrecked, which is pretty funny. It's just like I got this nice joystick and I got wrecked. Didn't help me win at all. But that's more my fault, not the joystick. I have to get used to playing it with a joystick because I've actually only really ever played the game with a controller. So
for the ideal experience, that's the whole thing. For the ideal experience, you need to get two things. You need to get the joystick, and you need to get good.
Yeah, I got wrecked on the first character, so that was pretty funny. And then I played Windjammers on my Neo Geo Mega.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Windjammers.
Everybody take a shot.
Yep.
Mention Windjammers.
But I got wrecked in that too, so you can see me get wrecked in Windjammers.
Clearly you should be playing with a controller instead.
But what was actually cool is I actually felt like I played I had more control over it with the joystick.
Okay.
That made sense. Even though I got wrecked, I felt like I was playing better.
Sure.
Like I had more control over what was going on. So it's just a matter of practice at this point. So I'm looking forward to it. The joystick is awesome. I look forward to using it more. So hopefully that'll be a hit, and we can continue to make more videos.
Yeah.
Now, while my friend was over, we also watched some of the Mr. Plinkett reviews from
Nice.
Red Letter Media.
I haven't heard of Mr. Plinkett. What's that?
Okay, so he's the guy who you've probably seen this. He's probably made the most famous review of The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it was like a 2.5 hour YouTube video that, like, I remember Maddox talked about it on his podcast. He had mentioned, like, 2.5 hours, well, there's no goddamn way I'm sitting through all this. And then he did, because it was just that engaging.
So in it, the character is like a fat old piece of shit guy who is creepy as hell. Like he kind of has created this character. They kind of created this character who's like a maniac, and like he's like a murderer. And he's like slurs his words all the time, but at the same time he has really in-depth analysis about movies that is like really smart and insightful.
The amount of research they must have done is just like unreal.
Yeah, and the shame of it all is that he tends to review shitty movies. So like, or movies that he's become famous, the characters become famous for reviewing, like Star Wars movies.
Well, the character has, but the guy who voices the character, along with at least one of his friends, do review movies as they come out in their half in the bag segment. It's just not like hours long each, like with the Plinkett reviews.
They don't do it as the character in those. He might make an appearance, but his actual Mr. Plinkett reviews are like long form reviews of like
they're
Force Awakens.
very long.
He did a Force Awakens one that was really popular.
Mm-hmm.
It has like over like 2 million views.
Yeah, like the really big one. He's done more than this, but the really big ones he's done was the Star Wars prequel trilogy, Titanic, and Indiana Jones: Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, and he also recently did Baby's Day Out.
Yeah, thanks.
Really?
Also that.
Yeah. So I mean, his Titanic review is pretty good because it points out that a lot of people just like hate on the movie because it's popular. But he also points out that there is good stuff about it, and it's not without artistry. It's just that there's a lot of hokey stuff about it too.
Yeah.
So he kind of gives it like this is a great movie, but it's also like a really mainstream movie. Like it was meant for people to just kind of go and see and not really think about.
Yeah, just consume.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there's a lot of research gone into the movie, so he likes that. So anyway, my friend really liked them, and I think they're really good. There's some really insightful points and some really good film analysis in them, and it's also like the humor in those videos is really entertaining.
It's genuinely funny.
Like, he's creepy as fuck. And
yeah, it's so good.
It's really hard to describe it because there's like a lot of jump cuts and like intentionally bad editing.
Yeah, like most of the video is like cuts of like clips from the film or like behind the scenes footage on the DVD or whatever, but every once in a while he'll just stop the review and be like, oh, looks like it's time for me to check on how like my pizza rolls are doing, and it just and like the camera just cuts to like his creepy freaking like kill room looking basement, and it's just like, oh god.
And he has like captives in there.
Yeah, he's got like someone tied up there. He's got like all sorts of crap on the floor. You're just like, Jesus. It's really interesting.
One of my favorite moments is like he goes down there and he's like, look, my grandkids left all these like all these, and this is a first person view, by the way, so like some of it's like obscured, so it's just like really even creepier. It looks like found footage almost.
Yeah,
and he's just like, look at all the crap my grandkids left around, and then he's looking around and there's like bones, like human bones, and he like picks up a pelvis and like throws it behind him. He's like, look at this like Queen Amidala action figure. It's just like, wait, what did you just do? You threw somebody's pelvis behind you.
Well,
like,
there's stuff like that, like before he focuses on the captives he has in his basement, like the first couple of times
he just like walks by it.
Yeah, like the camera quickly pans past him and you're like, wait, was that? And it just kind of keeps going with whatever bullshit he's doing, and you're like, what? And then like after all that creepy stuff, he's just like, anyway, back to like, you know, reviewing a Star Wars movie. It's like, what? Like, it's so out there.
Yeah, it's really good. It's some of the best and entertaining reviews I've ever watched. And like I said, they're really insightful. I don't agree with everything that they point out. You know, I have my own opinions about like film analysis, but there's some really good stuff in there, and especially for movies that don't get analyzed enough. Like bad movies don't get analyzed enough as to why they're bad. Mm-hmm. Like he does a good job at pointing out why movies have bad elements. Like he's not a fan of Rogue One or Force Awakens. I'm a fan of both of those movies, but I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, no, I agree with what they said about Rogue One, but I feel that they ragged on it like
a little too
way
much.
Harder than I would have. Yeah, like I get what you're saying, but like I still did enjoy the movie. I think they were more making fun of the people who are fanatics about it because it's Star Wars, and therefore I have to like it because it's Star Wars, like those kinds of people.
You know, part of the problem with big releases like this is that you can only really make a good judgment after all the hype is all cleared out. Like,
yeah, that's
all the
thing.
Good
like
hype, all
day
the
one
bad
analyses
hype.
are pretty rough because like you're in a mood based on like expectations, I think.
Yeah, and like you kind of want to go along with the general consensus of it anyway. So like you if everybody else is saying it's good, unless you're like a contrarian, you're probably going to say it's good just because, you know, it's the general feel of it.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Like part of the vibe you get like is even from the audience surrounding you in the theater. So like it's kind of hard to judge a movie on its own merits that way.
Yeah, the positive vibe comes from a lot of different sources. It's not just the movie itself.
Yeah.
So like I understand that kind of thing, and I can, you know, I'm a human being too. I change my opinion about movies, you know, way after I've seen them. But I still think it was a little too harsh.
I agree. But it's the end.
it's not without its like he has plenty of evidence as to what he's talking about. So
yeah, and that's the beauty of it. Like you can disagree with him, but like he has reasons to justify his claims. It's not just like pulling information out of his ass or whatever. Like, he knows what he's talking about. He just has an opinion, and maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't.
Yeah, like the guy who is writing this, or like the team of guys that's writing the dialogue for Mr. Plinkett, are clearly people that were English majors or had some sort of formal training in film analysis, because he goes into it pretty deep.
And even their like their half in the bag videos that I mentioned earlier, they're generally pretty off the cuff. Like, they'll cut stuff that isn't relevant or whatever later. Like, you'll see like flubs sometimes, like, that they like intentionally show just because it's kind of funny, but like it looks like they're just vlogging it, but they have like still really like deep, like, thought out things to say, even when it's not like a scripted review.
Yeah. So, having said that, I think those are really entertaining, and I also wanted to mention quickly, Cinefx makes some really good videos. They kind of started off as like another listicle, kind of like best 10 of kind of like series on YouTube, but they have some really in-depth film analysis that's really good. And we watched some of those, me and my friend, and we watched one on like the 10 funniest moments in cinema, and there's some really good analysis in there. It even delves into why it's funny.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Which doesn't sound like it's cool, but it's cool once, like, I've seen a lot of those moments, you know, like, so it's cool to analyze things that I've seen a million times, like why the scene in the rental store in Spaceballs is funny, you know?
Sure.
Like, when they're talking about now, you know, like,
when will then be now? Soon.
Soon. Yeah, exactly. So it's really cool. I'm a fan of that, and also for anybody who wants to start looking at films a little bit more critically and doesn't have access to college courses that can point this kind of thing out. I think those videos are really good. Especially since film analysis is near and dear to my own heart. It's refreshing to see a mainstream YouTube channel go as deep as I wish something would. So there's some more crunchy, more academic YouTube channels out there for sure, but this is a really good starting point for anybody who wants recommendations on good movies and why they're good. Okay. They have plenty of really good lists that are really good. So I'm a big fan of those, and they explain things really well. So I don't always agree with them, just like anything else, but they're always well thought out. So once again, it's hard to fault something that is, that they've done a lot of research on, and also, like, has evidence to back it up. But as with any type of analysis, it's open to interpretation. A lot of things are open to interpretation, and as long as you have something to back it up, it's valid. So, having said that, I'm finished with my segment. I'll do a quick way in here. I stayed the same as I thought I might. I've been going on a lot of dates lately, and I went on like 3 dates in the last week, which is uncharacteristic. I usually go on about a date a month, I would say, but it's really stepped up for some reason recently. So.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I've been meeting some really nice people too, so I'm very positive about my experiences lately. So I feel like it's good time right now, and my outlook on things is really good as of late with this kind of thing. So even if these things don't turn out to be long term with the people that I've been meeting, I've been having a good time and also getting to meet new people. So I think it's only positive. Let's just say that. So having said that, I'm gonna take my my dieting more seriously this week, and hopefully I'll get below 220.
Okay.
So, having said that, we can move on to questions.
Okay. Well, the first one is from School Filmer. Any experience with chess? As for me, like school filmer. I like it, but I'm all right at it. I usually head to the library to play against the pupils of the school, and they're all right at the game too. I even have a chess clock with random starting position mode, aka Chess 960. So yeah, do we have any experience with chess?
Yes.
Also yes. I would consider myself like a very good beginner. Like, I'm not going to enter a tournament anytime soon, but I know how to play and I'm semi-competent. Like, my problem is I like to pull off like cool moves if I can, and I'll sacrifice a lot to set them up. Like, it's like Scrabble. If I insist on losing turns to wait for that one letter that'll make the cool word, and then I lose the game as a result.
I would agree with my skill at least being that way, except my failing is I don't look enough moves ahead.
Yeah,
I look at just this
same.
next move and don't even think about what could happen from that.
Same.
I'm pretty much the same boat. I'm a good beginner as well, but I've been trying to get better at it recently. I've been actually playing it with on chess with friends on the phone with
nice.
a couple of my coworkers, and so I've found that part of my problem is I'm too aggressive in the beginning. So like a lot of what makes you good is how fortified you make your position at the beginning. And the pawns are really important in that. You may think that the pawns are expendable, but they actually muck everything up.
A pawn is expendable, but like the pawns are like arguably the most important pieces in the game.
Yeah, the point, I believe you're supposed to set them up so you can get kills from other pieces, basically.
Yeah,
like they're meant to be bait.
Yeah, they kind of you're supposed to set them up in that if any of them gets killed, the piece that kills that pawn will get hit by another pawn,
usually,
or by something else. So I've been getting better at setting that up, but the person that I play is very good. So even though I've been changing my strategy, he's been reacting at as such. And it's not that I'm like discouraged. It's just that man, like when am I gonna get good enough to even like play him? You know what I mean? Like, but I do like it. I think it's a great game, but there's a bit of a skill gulf with that game. I think you need to play it for a long time to get good at it. And also, I think researching different strategies is probably a really good way to go as well.
I will say that whenever I hear of chess, I always remember the old days of battle chess on DOS.
Oh yeah, I love battle chess.
I love battle chess. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I learned how to play chess, because I really liked playing that game.
It was cool, and there were different animations for depending on which pieces interacted with others. Yeah.
That's actually one of the games that I remember from my younger days. One of the very earliest games that I remember playing that weren't my own.
Same.
Because my cousin, who is quite a bit older than me, he's about 20 years older than me, but he's still a good friend and a close relative, and he had battle chess for NES, and when I was a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing. Just like watching the different animations for the different interactions between the different pieces, the different pieces, and I really like that. And I used to play chess with my dad and my brother, so like it's definitely ingrained in me that chess was always a fun time, and I kind of like that it's more accessible than ever now that you can play it on your cell phone. But like I used to have things like Chessmaster on SNES, and I always found those games way too hard. Like they're way too hard. Like you can't even win a single game against the Chessmaster.
In my case, in my case, my neighbor across the street had Battle Chess on PC. I don't remember if it was Mac or PC actually, but it was on like a computer. And I remember, like, because the graphics on that were a little better than the NES one. I didn't even know there was an NES version until, like, way later. And I got into that. Like, regarding computer games that I'd seen that, like, weren't my own, I remember it was that and, like, Hugo's House of Horrors. And, like, we didn't know what to do in Hugo. But Battle Chess was also fun. And I also played chess with my dad and sometimes with my brother. It was almost like the same experience as you. Part of how my dad got good, though, later on, was that, you know how Windows PCs come with just a couple of games like Minesweeper and stuff like that. Well, you know how the old ones came with different stuff that they just don't anymore, like Tetris or like Mahjong.
Sure.
There was also chess.
It also depended on the manufacturer of the computer.
That's true. Well, my dad got a little better at chess by playing against the computer, so he was able to, I think, beat the computer on like easy difficulty or something, which is still no joke. Like you said, the computer chess is brutal.
AIs in chess are really difficult.
Yeah, so like that was an interesting time. Okay, for the second question, this one I think will be pretty brief. Seaberry asks, "You guys played Undertale? Did you like it?"
I heard it was really good, and when I was teaching, all my students told me I should play it, but I have not yet got the chance to play it. This is more of a question that Old Man Stompy would want to answer. He could talk about this.
It's one of his favorite games of all time.
Yeah, we could bring that up
for an hour.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't like. This is a tricky one because I'm actually co-op LPing Undertale with Old Man Stompy and Minty Mitts, so like I don't want to hear about it just yet because I'm not that far in it. We recorded like 5 parts, but that's something I would definitely like to talk about more later. From what little I've played, I definitely do like it.
I haven't played it at all, but I know I'll love it. It's just all the people that I trust with this kind of thing love it.
Yeah.
So, like, Old Man Stompy's hard to impress, and in terms of story, I feel, and he's a really good judge, and a strict judge of good story, and
and
I'm a lot more lenient when it comes to that, and he loves that game.
He was actually like, he said to me like, you gotta play Undertale, like I'll do it with you if you want. I was just like, he really wanted me to play it, so like a recommendation that like intense from Old Man Stompy is like high praise indeed.
So I know that it takes huge inspirations from Earthbound, and I'm a big fan of the Earthbound series. I've talked about it in length, especially the Mother 3 in particular is one of my favorite games of all time. And I know I'll love it once I get a chance to play it. And everybody who's ever played it, I've never heard anybody not liking it.
Yeah, what's cool is that each character you meet is actually a character. Like, you really get emotionally invested in, like, more characters in the game than you would think. Like, usually games pick, like, a couple. Like, these are the ones that really matter. But, like, these all, like, not that you're necessarily going to, like, get emotionally invested in every single one, but they all feel like believable characters. Or at least they have a quirky enough personality that they're memorable.
Now, here's something that kind of sucks with the way that I like to play video games. Is that I get really hung up on getting the best ending on any given game, and or like the happiest ending.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, I know that this game is like one of the endings is a result of you not killing anybody in the game.
Yeah, you have to spend the whole game dodging everybody's attacks.
And so, not playing the game naturally is a completely different experience and probably one I'm going to take part in. And I don't know whether I'm going to enjoy it as much as I would if I didn't know all that. You know
I would say that it depends on the context, because it's not like you reach the end of the game, surprise, you're supposed to be a pacifist. Like, usually the creatures give off some vibe that maybe you don't want to kill them. There's even like a town that has this large like animal population, and the random enemy encounters in the game, you find that when you get to the town, they're all just in a bar, and whoever you killed just like won't be there. So like once you and that's relatively early game. And also your tutorial person kind of told you that, like, the very basic premise of the game is that the humans live above ground and the monsters live underground, but the monsters have a culture and society of their own. So that's another hint, like, just kind of don't be a dick. You know, that's kind of the thing. Like, none of the monsters are like, the demon attacks. It's usually, like, some weird thing that has, like a quirk about it that, like, it's not insanely threatening. So, like, and even, like, the first boss you fight, you've had, like, conversations with, and he's tried going after you, but, like, in a miserable failure, like, Team Rocket from the anime kind of way, where it's, like, every plan blows up in his face, and this guy has a brother.
He's really not all that evil, he's just
Yeah, he's just like, I'm gonna get
mischievous.
you, I'm gonna get you, and like, and he's got a brother who's like way more laid back and just chats with you. So when you finally do fight him, you're like, I don't dislike the guy. Like, he's actually really entertaining. So like, you're trying to dodge his attacks the whole time too. So like, in a standard video game, not attacking enemies in an RPG feels ridiculous, but Undertale kind of pushes it, so it almost does feel the natural thing to do. The only thing you're gonna miss out on is experience points. But there's no point in leveling up if you're like, what are you going to do, increase your attack? So like instead you're going to be building up like gold instead, which you could spend on healing items and other things for your character.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, okay, so I played like Lone Survivors like this. Like, if you don't kill any of the monsters, like you get the best ending. And
I didn't realize that until later.
Yeah, exactly, and I didn't realize that until later either, and I didn't want to play it anymore, because I knew I was going to get an unsatisfying ending, and I guess maybe that's my fault, but, like, I feel like the game is actively wasting my time if it doesn't tell me that's
the thing. Like, I mean, I went ahead and beat it, but, like, I didn't really feel like going all the way back through and playing it on super hard mode, where you have to carefully dodge every single enemy in a 2D plane. Have fun with that, by the way.
Fun. The game isn't fun. Like, Lone Survivor isn't. I should say isn't fun. With the pacifist
run. Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass because you have to keep like dropping stuff to distract enemies and go past. Whereas if you kill them, number one, these are clearly threatening monsters, unlike an Undertale. And when you kill one, now the hallway is clear. Now I can play the game more efficiently because that game is very heavily based around relatively realistic surviving. Like, you need food, you need fuel for your oven so you can heat up soup, stuff like that. Like, everything's kind of on a timer. So like every single time you re-enter a room or a hallway with an enemy in it that you have to navigate past, it's just a pain in the ass.
I think that's kind of the reason why I fell off of Dishonored, because even though obviously they give you the tools to kill people, but your town gets more and more shitty looking the more people you kill.
Oh, really?
And I felt like the game wouldn't be as fun trying to just sneak past everyone.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's a different situation, but it's kind of a similar reason why I fell off of Dishonored, was because the way that I felt like they wanted me to play wasn't the way that I wanted to play.
Well, same thing goes for Deus Ex Human Revolution and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. There is an insane amount of cool weapons, especially in Peace Walker, but Deus Ex has them too. Like, really cool weapons that all do different things. Some are silent, some are rocket launchers, some are sniper rifles. There's all sorts of like craziness going on, but in Peace Walker, you can only get an S ranking if you're a pacifist, and in Human Revolution, you get more points for non-lethal KOs. So I have this just giant toy chest of weapons, and I'm sticking with my freaking melee, or in Peace Walker, like my tranq pistol, and it's like, man, come on.
See, that just makes me think about, like, moral judgments in video games. Like, these games all take a moral stand on certain things. They say this is bad and this is good by doing this. They reward you by doing what they believe should be considered good. And so I don't think the game is constructed well. I'm not saying there's an easy answer to this.
Well,
but
if you're going to give me a choice, give me a choice. Like, don't give me a choice and then say, yeah, but I'm not going to reward you as well for that one. Yeah, like, you can do it, but here, have half the experience. And it's like,
That's why I like how Mass Effect did it. Like, a lot of the Paragon choices were a lot of fun. So, like, Mass Effect does that a little bit better, I think, than a lot of other games.
The main thing that bugs me about Mass Effect, though, is that it tells you, this is a Paragon, this is a Renegade.
It's very binary,
like,
in that way.
Strangely enough, one of the best... I mean, from what you've told me, one of the actual best choice systems in a game, I haven't played it, but Alpha Protocol. But of the games
Alpha Protocol is not binary.
But, like, of the games I have played, you only have two options, but it doesn't tell you which is the good one. Of all games in the world, Silent Hill Homecoming, I feel, had a better choice system than Mass Effect, because, like, Mass Effect, there are consequences to your actions. With Silent Hill Homecoming, it's more like, you did the good thing, this is going to affect your ending. So it doesn't get deep, but you don't know necessarily which is the good one, which is the bad one. It's like, here, you have a choice. I feel Downpour was a step backward in that direction, because Downpour went back to the this is good, this is bad setup.
Alpha Protocol doesn't have a global morality system.
Yeah.
What's good about it is the system is based on specific relationships with specific characters and how you're interacting with them specifically. So a specific interaction with a character will influence how that character feels about your character, rather than like the game globally saying that you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Certain people will think you're a bad person, but not everybody.
Speaking of which, I haven't gotten that far in it, like I said, but I think The Witcher kind of pulls stuff like that too.
Oh yeah, and that's why I like those systems. I think that's really cool, and the game doesn't pass a judgment at you in that way. It's just like, if you want to build a relationship with this character, you have to talk to them in a way that they're going to respond well to you. And it's not even like this type of thing works on everybody. Like, certain types of, like, one of the characters is very flirtatious, but if you're flirtatious back, she doesn't respond well to it.
Oh, interesting.
She likes being aggressive, but if you're aggressive back, she doesn't like it.
Oh, that's clever.
So you have to be submissive to her in order for you to like her. Which is, and all the other women, like, kind of respond, you have to be more subtle with them. Kind of like more realistically. So, like, if you want to get a girl to like you in that game, you kind of have to earn their trust first, and then, like, in the way that character finds trustworthy too. So they're much more realistic. But there's this really over the top aggressive woman who hits on you constantly, and you cannot be aggressive back to her, like in a sexual way. She'll just flat out turn you down, which is really funny. So I like that style, but going back to Undertale, I recognize that the dialogue is what makes that game special.
Yes.
So the experience of playing a pacifist run is probably not annoying, as it is with Lone Survivor.
Yeah, you'd think it would be, but it kind of works. The only thing that's tough, though, is that, like, because you're not hurting the enemy and you can't end the battle on your own terms, you're just going to have to keep putting up with dodging their attacks. That's the only thing. But, like, it doesn't feel as bad as you would think.
Yeah, so, I mean, my own predilections are probably what's stopping me from playing that game, and I think I'm going to end up liking it because I like, that kind of game and that kind of clever humor. I also kind of want to play the Halloween hack of Earthbound, which is the thing that the guy who made Undertale made before.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, we're always into, like, the journey of the author and journey of the director.
I have a feeling I'll like Undertale when I eventually play it. It's been on my Steam wish list for forever, but I haven't gotten a chance to. But I agree with the whole pacifist run thing, and I kind of feel like I figured that out myself, but that's what happens when you don't play a game until years after it came out, because you learn about all the secrets. So
yeah, I also kind of lament that I know this about the game, so yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, like, it doesn't matter that much. Like, there's a pacifist run ending. Like, there's a kill everyone ending. There it is. It's not like you've discovered some weird nuance or spoiler or anything like that. Like, just here's the thing you can do.
Yeah, but it would have been interesting to figure it out myself.
That's true.
And be like, oh, let me try it again and not kill anyone. Like, oh, this is actually a different ending. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, knowing about it is kind of the spoiler.
All right.
Knowing about it at all. But like I said, I'm going to play it. I know I'm probably going to like it. I'm just kind of taking my soapbox moment here.
Yeah.
But I think we answered that.
Yeah, so I think that's about all the time we have, but definitely comprehensive.
So, like I said earlier, about my videos, we're growing the Corrective Consciousness brand here, and we're probably going to migrate everything to the Corrective Consciousness channel in time. I don't know how exactly we're going to do it at this point, but we're going to come up with a plan for it, and we're going to let you guys know ahead of time. That way you can subscribe to it and not miss an episode. So I once again want to thank everybody for submitting more questions this week. I saw quite a few.
We have a lot left.
Yeah, we have, last time I checked, we have 9 left.
which is great. We love having a backlog. Keep submitting them. Don't let up, and keep giving us feedback. If you have a criticism, please just let us know. We're very responsive to it. So we'll take it, and we'll shape the podcast to something that is even more special in time. So I want to thank everybody who has supported us for a long time. We have quite a few people that submit questions every week, and they're really good about it and really good at commenting. So give us thumbs up, give us shares on your social media as well. I would love to see that pop up on Facebook sometime or Twitter. We tweet about it and post it on Facebook every week. But eventually I want to even make a Corrective Consciousness community page on Facebook. That way people can join it and interact with us in another way as well. But everything in time. But we're slowly adding things. Don't forget to like us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating if you can. And give us a thumbs up on the YouTube page. And don't forget to also friend us on all the other platforms like PSN and Xbox Live and all that stuff. I'm VyseTheBold on there. VyseTheBold. All right. Until next week. Until Reactive Consciousness on Thursday.
That's true.
We'll catch you then.
Yeah.
Until next time, everyone.
Catch you then.
Goodbye, everybody.